We're looking forward to the negotiation. I think it's going to be positive. We'll, of course, see, as the President of the United States said, if the Iranians are willing to negotiate in good faith, we're certainly willing to extend the open hand. If they're going to try to play us, then they're going to find that the negotiating team is not that receptive. So we're going to try to have a positive negotiation. The President has gave us some pretty clear guidelines, and we're going to see.
Vice President JD Vance is wheels up for Pakistan for peace talks with Iran. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and the president's son-in-law Jared Kushner will also join him at the table. Meanwhile, a fragile U.S.-Iran ceasefire agreement hangs by a thread. Kuwait says Iran violated that truce by launching a drone attack on Thursday, but Iran denies that. Instead, they say the U.S. is the one in violation for allowing Israel to continue its war on Hezbollah in Lebanon. The White House says that was never part of the deal. Also causing frustration at the White House, the Strait of Hormuz. Iran refuses to loosen its grip on that channel, warning ships to seek permission before sailing through. It led to this message from President Trump. He wrote, "There are reports that Iran is charging fees to tankers going through the Hormuz Strait. They better not be, and if they are, they better stop now." Okay, let's go live outside the White House to CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. Good to see you, Ed. So what can we expect from peace talks this weekend now that Vice President JD Vance is joining the table?
Well, just because he's headed there, Mugo, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. I mean, you've seen there the president's concerns about the continued blockage at the Strait of Hormuz. We've seen in the last hour the Iranian foreign minister and its parliamentary speaker quoted as saying, unless Israel stops attacking Lebanon and unless Iranian assets are freed up, we're not necessarily going to start negotiations. So the next few hours heading into Saturday could be quite critical to get a sense of whether or not the U.S. is getting played here by sending the vice president all the way over to Pakistan and whether the Iranians will show up. This talks are scheduled to begin Saturday in Islamabad. Pakistan is the venue, is the host, because they've been mediating ever since this dispute began, even before it began, between the United States and Iran. Its leaders have good relationships with both sides. Vice President only expected to be there for a day, mostly because of security concerns in Islamabad. That is not a place you send a prominent American official without significant security. And I know our Imtiaz Tyab has already said this morning that the security situation there is quite intense. We are not expected to see the president until late afternoon today before he heads to an event down in Virginia. We'll see if between now and then he has anything to say about the Iranian statements or what the guidelines are specifically to the vice president, since he said he's heading over there, obviously, with marching orders.
Yeah, and Ed, speaking of the president, as we mentioned earlier, he is warning Tehran against charging tolls in the Strait of Hormuz. What is the latest there? Is there anything new? Do we know where things stand?
As of now, latest indications are only about 12 vessels passed through on Wednesday and Thursday. That's down significantly from dozens that were passing through on a regular basis before the conflict began. Given that gas prices in this country remain above $4 a gallon, given that the inflation numbers that came out today signal they spiked because of higher energy costs, this is a chief concern for the president. It's why you saw him make that statement that if the traffic isn't moving, that isn't what we agreed to. Certainly that'll be a big part of this conversation should the negotiations occur. But it is certainly the most urgent short-term concern for this White House as it continues to monitor the domestic economic fallout from the war.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. Ed O'Keefe outside the White House for us today. Thank you so much. And CBS News senior foreign correspondent Imtiaz Tyab is following developments in Pakistan's capital, Islamabad, where these high-stakes talks will take place.
Well, all eyes are here on the Pakistani capital, Islamabad, as we anticipate those high-level talks, which really would be the most significant talks between the U.S. and Iran, high-level talks between the U.S. and Iran going all the way back to 2013 when President Obama called the then-elected Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. Now, this, of course, is very different. This is at a time where tensions have never been higher between these two countries. Of course, after this nearly 6-week war along with Israel, it is now in this very shaky ceasefire. And I have to underscore shaky, given the fact that we have seen a lot of violence in places like Lebanon. In saying all of that, many here in Islamabad, at least, are expressing rather optimism that the two sides will come here to the capital, will have talks. The basis of those talks is pretty clear. The Strait of Hormuz, Iran's nuclear program, Iran's ballistic missiles program, and indeed Iran's proxies across the region. Iran also has demands, including its ability to control the Strait of Hormuz, ending the war permanently, getting some sort of reparations for the violence that has been inflicted on their country, and indeed their nuclear program as well. Whether these two sides will be able to meet is anyone's guess, but the fact that they are talking is a huge step in a direction that many here in the region are hoping this conflict is moving. The Gulf, as we know, has suffered enormously during this war. The Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world's energy passes through, that has been choked off, affecting so much of the world's economy. Many around the world simply want to see this war ended, but these talks, as we've been saying, are about as high stakes as it gets.